Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Friday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners. So, Timstradamus, why didn't anyone want to go trick-or-treating with Dracula?
Because he will suck their blood?
Close. Because he's such a pain in the neck.
That's so lame. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, Voyse, what did you brew for me today?
I brewed for you a tea that has rooibos, peppermint, and cocoa nibs.
Ooh. Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
It's my first time using cocoa nibs, so I'm excited.
I don't know what that is, but it tastes good.
It's like the outer shellings of the cocoa bean. So rather than just wasting it away, you use it in the tea to give it that flavor.
It's really good. 50 out of 50.
Ooh. Well, let's get right into these stories then. For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story. Am I the a-hole for not attending Bio Daughter's wedding because her stepsister was not invited? Bio Dad's daughter and I relationship did not end on good terms, and while I tried my best to keep the children out of it, he did not agree, and in an attempt to get the kids to side with him, he went on a smear campaign against me. While he didn't accomplish his goal of getting them to want to be with him, he was successful in straining my relationship with my daughter. I tried therapy and every possible, but once she was old enough to refuse, she stopped participating. I remarried when Bio Daughter was 13, and my husband had a daughter who was 2 years younger than our Bio Daughter. Since the beginning, the girls did not get along. At first, Bio Daughter was the one instigating, but eventually in their teen years, the hate became mutual. Both girls are now in their mid-20s, and the relationship has not gotten any better. Bio Daughter is getting married next year, and she's having a fairly large wedding. I knew since the beginning that stepdaughter was not in the wedding party, but everyone assumed she was at least invited to the ceremony. While talking about the wedding, the topic of stepdaughter was brought up, at which point my daughter said that stepdaughter wasn't invited. When I asked why, her reasoning was that she wants an intimate wedding. This would normally be a reasonable response, except for the fact that even friends that she hadn't seen since elementary school are invited, but her stepsister is not. So I pressed her, and she said the reason why she isn't invited is because she's not family. I said if stepsister is not family, then neither is stepdad and her half-siblings, and by proxy, I'm also not family. And so if it's a family-only wedding, then there is no point in me attending. She obviously got upset and started screaming and ended up leaving. She told her aunts and grandparents, and everyone is saying that I'm an a-hole for refusing to attend her wedding. Am I an a-hole?
We're going to kick Friday off with a wowzer. So, in my opinion, I guess we'll start with this. There sounds like something obviously went on between the sisters to have gotten to the point where they're at. Do they go into any type of detail? Does someone ask ROP why it is that their relationship is so strained?
So there are individuals inside the comment section that say, it sounds like there's information that we're not getting as to what's going on, but we don't get a response.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, that might have helped a little bit, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm going to err on the side of if someone doesn't want to invite someone to their wedding, it doesn't matter what reasonings there are for it. At the end of the day, that's their wedding. They get to invite whoever they want or not invite whoever they want. That's how I feel about it. At this point, OP, you're the a-hole only because you're trying to force someone to do something at their wedding. Regardless if that is your daughter or not your daughter, that really shouldn't have been your place to poke after they already gave you an answer. Because I believe the answer that the daughter gives her is supposed to just be kind of like a, hey, leave it alone type situation. She was trying to be kind about it, I think anyway, where she was like, I want it to be intimate. If she gives you that answer, then that clearly means that her stepsister does not mean the same as her mother or the father.
Or any other person in her life for that matter.
Or the other siblings that she's probably invited. So you should have left that there. There clearly is some stuff that she omitted. And yeah, that to me makes you an a-hole.
Well, the consensus was also that our OP is the a-hole. In fact, I'll mention a couple funny comments that I read. One of them said, "Who died and made you the wedding guest list police?" Another individual says, "You're the a-hole, and if you can't see why, I don't have time or the crayons to explain it to you."
Or the crayons.
Now to sum up the reasons, it's her wedding. She's not close to her stepsister, and their relationship is obviously strained. Whoever started it doesn't really matter. It just hasn't built. And it sounds like they've kept it cordial because our OP doesn't mention anything about them being toxic to each other, at least at family events. But that doesn't mean that her daughter owes it to her stepsister to invite her to her own wedding. Well, let's go ahead and go into our next story and see what's happening with this family. Am I the a-hole for losing my shit on my husband and my daughter? I am undergoing radiation treatment for illness, and my husband had to go to urgent care for kidney stones today. It was a horrible, horrible day. My daughter, who's in her early 20s, recently came back to stay with us after being laid off last week and having a final round interview not pan out. I'm angry with my husband for eating too much salty crap like Chipotle and ramen. And I'm angry at my daughter too. She's regressing back to her childhood habits of eating junk food, sleeping till 9:30 a.m., bitching about food, and not doing any chores. I told my husband to make her take out the trash because she wasn't fucking doing shit. And my husband did that all of this week. And eventually, I took out the trash. I've always been annoyed by my daughter. I never felt she was good enough at any activities I paid lots for, like piano and art, effectively wasting my money. I never felt she was as good as my nephews and nieces. She wasn't good at chores. I saw her awkwardly and slowly picking up trash at a club event, and it was awful. She was 16, whereas the other kids did it easily. She wasn't sociable and didn't get any academic awards or leadership positions in high school, though she did get into a top college. Granted, she did get a job paying approximately $80,000 out of college, but she was laid off from that in the third round of layoffs, presumably because she called us every week saying that she wished she had gone into a different field and hated that job. I know they say layoffs are not your fault, but they are. I mean, they must choose the worst to go, right? I told my daughter she needs to be in bed by 10:30 p.m. every night and get up no later than 9 a.m. She needs to do all the chores from now on minus cooking. I want her to apply to at least 10 jobs a day until she gets an offer. I told my husband he needs to eat better and drink more water, and my daughter needs to drink more water too. Now they're both mad at me. Am I the a-hole? I'm just tired of being the only one working. My husband doesn't work because he's depressed.
This is a fucked up story. All right, so let's get into this terrible story. You are 100% maybe the winner of the Wiener Jacket of the Day award, because the way you're describing your daughter, it's almost as if she was an accessory to your life, that you needed to be a trophy child, and nothing she ever did in her life ever amounted to anything in your eyes. That's a pretty poor way of parenting. You say that she fell on some hard luck with being laid off, and then you go further in explaining that everything your daughter did in her life just didn't amount up to what you expected from her. In great detail describing how she couldn't pick up trash the same way other kids were at some event. She also says that she's going through some health problems right now, and I can kind of see where maybe some of the stress is boiling over the top, because she says that her husband, he's unemployed right now, and she says his only excuse for it is that he's going through depression. Now, does she go into any more detail about that situation at all?
No.
Okay. At the end of the day, OP, it sounds like you dislike everyone in your family. Like, I didn't hear one good thing about anything in your life. So, in my opinion, you're definitely the a-hole. I feel sorry for your family, though, because it doesn't sound like there's much of any type of compassion anymore. It left a long time ago if there was, because nothing in that story reads to me that you're understanding or empathetic in any type of way. I can understand being on hard times, being sick, and then your husband not taking good care of his health, but those are things you definitely should be talking about and working on. And if it feels like you're not being heard, definitely try to get into some type of counseling to learn how to communicate with your husband and your daughter, because she's an adult too, and it sounds like you put a lot of scars on her. Because the way you're speaking right now, I'm sure you've spoken to her exactly like that.
Well, the consensus on Reddit was she is definitely the a-hole. In fact, there were a lot of commenters that actually put down that they feel pretty sorry for her daughter and having to grow up knowing that her mom truly doesn't think the world of them, truly doesn't love or support them at all. In fact, some said, look, how she's eating almost sounds like a disorder, an eating disorder stemmed from anxiety and stress that you're just exasperating. And then on top of that, you tell her what she has to do and deal with. They say her being sick doesn't give it a pass for being an awful person. The one thing that I can say is I hope that her daughter doesn't allow her mother's actions to define who she is. Doesn't allow that negativity to bring her down, because it's easy to go ahead and just let it happen. But the best things really are worth working for. And as for her husband, I mean, he picks her.
That is a very true statement. I just can hope that maybe she saw some of the writing on the wall here.
That's awful to be compared to other people like that. I understand you can make some generalizations about certain personality traits. I get that. But every person's an individual, truly an individual. If her daughter wasn't into piano and the artsy stuff that her mother wanted her to be, it doesn't make her less of a person. Well, let's go to our next story and see if we can get a new job ourselves, shall we? Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I hate her new job? My wife, 37 female, and I, 38 male, have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, 10, 8, and 6. During the pandemic, my wife's job allowed her to switch to 100% work from home. They never required her to go back to the office because her productivity actually increased, so there was no need. It made things easier for us too. I dropped the kids off at school/daycare in the morning, and she picked them up in the afternoon. She was able to keep up with a few things around the house during the day. We saved on gas and car maintenance, etc. A few months ago, she was contacted by a recruiter about a job. It would be a nice step up in her career path as well as a boost in pay. But there were drawbacks. The company had no work from home policy and would require her to work in the office. This was apparently non-negotiable. It would also be a 45-minute commute for her. We talked it over a lot, and I expressed my concerns about how this would impact our daily lives. I told her that I don't necessarily think that the bump in pay is worth the major changes to our daily lives, not to mention the stress that a long commute can have on people, and that could impact their mood and how they interact at home. She assured me that everything would be fine and that we would adjust as a family, and soon the new routine would become our new normal. I told her that I would never tell her not to take the job, but I just don't know if it is worth the changes that it would bring. Ultimately, the decision was hers and she accepted the new job. She's been there for about 10 weeks now. To say it has been an adjustment is an understatement. She wakes up and leaves before the kids even get up. She'll help get a few things ready for them before she goes, but the entire morning kid routine is on me. I also do both drop off and pick up for all the kids too. Evenings have been a huge mess because I get home and try to get the kids distracted while I start dinner. When my wife gets home, she is usually stressed from the drive. Her commute has turned into over an hour due to construction and traffic, and takes 15 minutes for herself to calm down before eating alone. Then, after dinner, she's going to bed earlier because she has to wake up earlier. I told her that I feel her new job has put an unfair amount of household and childcare duties on me, and that she's being far less present in our lives when she's home. She told me that we just need to give it more time to adjust and things will get easier. I told her that 10 weeks is a pretty good adjustment period, and I hate it so far. She told me I'm being an unsupportive jerk, and I need to give it more time. Am I the a-hole?
Oof. This is a problem that I think a lot of families run into. Both parents in this situation are working. ROP says that his wife got a brand new job opportunity. I think a step up.
Correct. And just to provide more clarification on that, before all of this changed, her schedule included where, of course, she would work from home, so she'd be able to pick them up and make dinner and pick up some household chores. But with this new schedule, he explains it where she gets up at 6, leaves at 6:30. The kids go to school at 7:30, so they don't even really see each other. And then she gets home at about 5 to 6 o'clock. She spends an hour eating, and then at 8 o'clock, she goes to sleep.
That doesn't leave much time to spend with the family at all.
Correct.
So I guess that leads me into my next thought. It sounds like everything up until she takes the new job was working out for everyone.
Correct.
She was able to work from home. He was dropping the kids off in the morning. She was picking them up in the evening. It sounds like it was a pretty split right down the middle, even situation for both parents. That's important, especially when you are dealing with 3 kids under the age of 10. There's a lot going on in life at that point. You do need your partner to help. Now, he does tell us that before his wife takes the job, he kind of explains his apprehension to it at the beginning, telling her like, hey, we do have a pretty good setup right now. By you taking that job, I'm worried that X and X and X are going to impact our family life and the responsibilities we share. Rightly so, you're allowed to do that with your partner. You need to have those conversations. But his wife, in response to that, says, look, we'll adjust and deal with it as it comes. Normally, you can take that type of approach to things, but when it comes to impacting 5 people, you really do need to get a better understanding before you walk into it. It sounds like she was just ready to move on to the next thing in her career, and you're allowed to have that. Now, on the other end, though, ROP sounds like he has a lot of complaints, but I don't hear a whole lot of solutions. I don't hear him talking about how she can do a little bit more to alleviate some of the burden that now he's hoisting on himself. Because you can't be responsible for every single thing. You can't be working a job, taking care of the kids, dropping them on and off, getting them ready for school, doing the meals. That can't be all on one parent. It doesn't work that way, not in healthy relationships. So, in my opinion, they're both the a-holes. Obviously for different reasons, but the communication is completely gone in this relationship. Right now, anyway. I understand that his wife might be looking at it from, this is a new career opportunity. She's stepping up in whatever field she's in, and that's fantastic. But you have to have balance. It cannot be all on one parent.
Well, the consensus is everyone sucks here. And let me go ahead and actually put out, our OP did say, because they are not able to go past the 3,000 character limit threshold of the post, that they did offer solutions when it came to this whole change. They actually want to do meal preps on the weekends, that they were considering ordering possibly the meal kits that you get in a subscription. But where they talk about those things, the issue is when he talks about, hey, look, the kids and I don't feel like you're spending any time with us anymore. It's met with more hostility on her end. So here's where I think things get a little twisted when it comes to the Reddit audience. And let me go ahead and read his edit in his post. Edit. I don't have the emotional bandwidth right now to deal with the huge amount of sexist BS I'm getting here. Those kind of responses are why men don't open up when they feel exactly like I do right now and just bottle this up. I have to get ready to pick up my kids. They're getting Happy Meals tonight because fuck it.
So can I ask this? Were people just saying you're getting a taste of what women have to deal with and calling it a day?
Exactly.
That's not a healthy way to go about it.
It's not. And I come down to, Do not talk and treat others the way that you would not want to be talked and treated to. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of relationships fail. Rather than going ahead and being the bigger person, there are people who play into those tropes and then try and weaponize it.
I sincerely hope that there was some people in that comment section that were able to go beyond all of the social rhetoric that we have around relationships and all of that kind of stuff. Because if you met that with, you're getting a taste of what women have been dealing with. I am sorry for the people who have had partners that have put them through those type of things. But understand, there is a majority of us that do understand that that's not okay. And you should be sharing the burden 50-50. And if you're not able to meet someone in the middle road with that, then you do need to take a look inside and try to start healing what it is that broke you. Because that's not a healthy viewpoint.
OP has provided us some information. This is a pay bump. At the rate that they're going right now, they only net $200 of her new pay. And the reason why they only net that much is because they spend so much more in gas. Where she would fill up once a week, now he's talking about her filling up multiple times a week just to get to and from work. I'm talking 4 times plus a week for her to commute to and from work. And that has been eating away at any extra money that they were supposed to be saving and doing anything. That means if there's any downtime for OP to want to have just a day, the childcare would come out of their small netted $200 that she's making.
That's why I said that this kind of situation is very common now, because you do have parents that both work and you do kind of have to weigh exactly what it is you're getting. But I also understand from the wife's point of view that maybe leaping into that next job, even though they're not netting a whole lot more right now,
in
that
the future
could be
might be more.
The stepping stone to better things that she might have to deal with right now. But that being said, you still have to communicate with your partner and you still have to share the load 50-50. Like I said, though, I can understand where people have been jaded watching their parents or hearing their grandparents talk about how they had to deal with all of the extra side of the house responsibilities. And I feel for that, and that sucks. But that is not every partner. That is not every marriage.
Oh, some of the comments on there, it was disgusting. I think people that talk and act so callously, you express and say that you want someone to feel and understand your pain, but then you don't go out of your way to do the same for someone else. The one thing that I will say, and I will clarify with all the listeners, people were asking if the workload at home was truly split. And our OP does say in the comment section, yes, they split all the household chores. It wasn't just on one person or another. That a lot of sexist commenters were putting out there that she probably did most of it because she worked from home. But apparently that wasn't the case. He took on his half and then he took on her half. Well, let's go ahead and go to our very last story of the day. Am I the a-hole for refusing to marry my high school sweetheart? My partner, 28 male, and I, 29 female, have been together for 12 years. We met when we were next door neighbors as children and started dating at 16. We made it through high school, then college, and now we live together. We've both had conversations about marriage, and we agreed on it not being a priority as we're content with our lives right now. That was until I fell pregnant. I'm currently 33 weeks along, and my boyfriend proposed to me a week after we found out. While I appreciate my partner's intention of wanting to do the right thing, I strongly believe that getting married solely because of the pregnancy is not a solid foundation for a lifelong commitment. My parents married only because they were about to have me, and it ended terribly. Marriage should be a thoughtful decision based on love, mutual respect, and shared aspirations, rather than a knee-jerk reaction to unexpected circumstances. He doesn't see it that way and has been pestering me about getting married throughout my pregnancy. He says now that it's his priority to get married before our baby is born because he wants our child to grow up in a traditional household. My partner has never been the conservative type and has been very liberal in his views, alongside coming from a liberal family. So this confused and frustrated me a lot. We've gotten into big arguments over this topic, and now I'm beginning to feel as though I should just say yes to minimize this constant tension and stress. Am I the a-hole?
So let's get into this one, because I don't know if the question that she poses here is the proper one. But we'll start with this. They've been together for a long time.
12 years.
They met when they were 16. Or no, sorry, they met when they were like 13 and officially started dating when they were 16.
Correct.
Now they're in their 30s and she just got pregnant. Up until this point, though, she says that for both of them, marriage wasn't a priority. She says that when he found out she was pregnant, he wanted to put a ring on it. She describes her husband as a liberal, and that once he found out, everything from that point on, he's changed to be more conservative. I don't know if that change happened because he's having a conservative viewpoint, or if he just wants to get married to someone he's been with for 12 years and now they're having a child together. When you guys have shared so much of your lives together and now you're about to have a child together, I think it's a safe assumption that you love each other. And yes, maybe it may not have been a priority, but wanting to marry your partner that you've shared so much with, I don't think is wrong. This one has a two-part for me. I believe she is the a-hole because of everything we just talked about. All the time spent, all the life shared up to this point. By doing those things and then not expecting that a ring from your partner come at some point is kind of weird. But my other half to it all is, maybe the question should be where along the way she stopped feeling the same way for him. Because we're talking about someone that doesn't want to get married. You can't force someone into a marriage.
I agree with that.
That's where, yes, she's the a-hole for the question she's asking, but you're not the a-hole for what you're feeling. She doesn't want that. But that's a conversation you have to have with your boyfriend. In my opinion, OP, you definitely owed a real conversation to your boyfriend, because it does sound like your relationship changed somewhere.
So the consensus on Reddit is that our OP is the a-hole. And there's several perspectives that our commenters try to actually provide the OP with. The first one saying, you're saying that marriage is this lifelong commitment, but you've made this lifelong commitment with him by having this child. And on top of that, a lot of individuals can understand and empathize that jumping into a marriage because you're pregnant, that's an understandable fear. Generally, it happens very early on in a relationship. You're not early on in a relationship. You're 12 years into your relationship. Clearly, you guys love each other to keep staying together in some way or form, to even say that you're okay with having a child together. The commenters put it that it's kind of silly that you would think that putting on a ring is a bigger commitment than having a child together. Now, additionally, our OP does say in the comment section that they've had their ups and downs. It's been a tumultuous relationship. I mean, you went through your teenage years. Things have changed since that time. But a lot of commenters hit back that that is very normal. A relationship is supposed to be worked on. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and you've clearly been able to work through a lot of it if you're still together after that long. A lot of people who get married can't even stay together that long. So the fact that you've been able to hit that is amazing. But yes, it makes me wonder, has our OP changed in her feelings for her boyfriend to where now she can no longer commit even when it comes to the marriage? So the comment section on Reddit gave us 3 different things to think about when it came to our poster. 1, your marriage with the OP. There's no such thing as the most perfect, romanticized view of marriage ever. Your life will never be 100% going into it as if a knight in shining armor takes you there, and then a hunky-dory castle at the end that you get put into. It's a work in progress. from the time that you start that relationship, and especially after you put that ring on. It's still a work in progress.
Every day.
And then you have some commenters saying, it sounds like you're delving out a self-fulfilling prophecy here, where you're afraid because your parents had gotten married and then gotten married because they were pregnant with you, their marriage fell apart, that the same thing's going to happen here. That will only be true if you let that be true. And then the last set of Redditors are saying, look, you can't keep stringing him along. Either you need to go ahead and make your choice and you need to make it clear to him why it is that you feel uncomfortable with it. It can't be that it's just later on because you guys are no longer at that same point. But don't string him along thinking that just because you say no, it's fine just because you had a liberal view previously. A lot of people take these life-changing events seriously, and for him, it seems like he's taking it seriously.
But it also is okay for her to say no.
She just needs to make it clear why.
You definitely have to have the conversation and tell him the truth.
This is a hell of a story to have left off on, isn't it?
Yeah. You picked another good one for Friday.
I think this one was extremely gray, and it's very difficult.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would also like to go ahead and thank all of our patrons for your support. We definitely appreciate it.
Love y'all. We look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. And as always, listeners, I'll leave you off with a question I always do on Fridays. What are the weekend plans?
We're going to go to a pumpkin patch because I want to make some homemade pumpkin dog treats.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.